Hi, I'm Steve Hanks. I've just completed a book called Moving On. It's about the last 10 years of my life emotionally. These are probably the most powerful paintings I've done in years because I've been through a rough time in my life, going through a divorce, and I wanted to document the steps I go through to heal. And so it's really a book about healing, about moving on, about visualizing where you want to go in your life, and getting through these times. I'm hoping it's a book that'll transfer to other people in helping them go through things that they go through in their own life. When I first started a lot of these paintings in the book, I mean, it goes through the period, just to show you, it goes through the periods of, me with my family and my children, and that was, for years, that's what I painted, because I painted the life that I knew. And then having gone through a divorce, suddenly, everything had changed and the subject matter sort of were shifting. And I remember when I first went through the divorce, I looked around my house and was looking at the paintings on the wall, and there were paintings of my wife on the beach with the children and things like that. And I always assumed that you would know that I was in the picture because I take the family to the beach and this is my point of view, and you'd always see me in the paintings. But once we weren't together anymore, I was looking at these paintings. They were all paintings of my wife and my children, and I wasn't in the picture. So I remember sort of stepping back at that point and thinking, now that I was handling the children and taking care of the kids on my own, and the father was really involved, I did go through a period of, okay, I need to put some men in the painting. And I've always been much better at using women to express emotions and feeling, because men always have a different feeling in a painting. They're always seen as power and strength, and those weren't subjects that I really wanted to paint for myself. And the women, you were able to use women in paintings to express all kinds of much subtler emotions and inner feelings. They're feelings that men also have, but in an image of a woman, you can go right to the image and just go right to the emotion of what she's feeling. Men, we tend to look at him and go, who is he? What is he thinking? What is he all about? But with the women, you can just go right to the emotion, and I liked that about it. But now that I was looking at these paintings and felt I needed to do some men, I started doing some paintings of fathers and children, because that was the situation I was in. And that led, for a while, once I had done that, I realized that, I don't really have to paint men to express these feelings. I can still go back and paint the subject matter that I'd been painting. And I just, at one point, I decided I didn't want to think about what I was painting. And I just took a model, we went to the beach, and we started doing some layouts for some ideas for paintings. And as I was doing them, I realized that I was painting exactly where I was in my healing process. The first paintings have this girl sitting on the beach in overcast weather, all knotted up sort of with all her thoughts to herself. And you can tell that I go to the beach a lot of times to just get my mind together and clear my head. Beaches are places where you can get such a great perspective on life, because your problems are like a grain of sand. You look out across the vast ocean and you realize that your problems just are really nothing in comparison to what the world is all about. And I like that. I started out with this girl where she was on the beach, and then later on she's standing up, and it's cold, it's still overcast, and she's got her arms holding onto herself and looking down, and it's called Reflecting the Tide. And it's just a little step farther that she's taken, where she's maybe up on her feet, and the idea of the tide coming in and going out is a lot like life itself, that we have to deal with these things. We can't control everything in life. And the tide comes and goes, and her problems in her life are being reflected in the tide. And that led to another piece that was called Finding Yourself in the World, which was a girl standing on the beach in a beautiful background with the mountains coming down to the ocean. And here was the idea that when things are bad, you can just look around and say that we've got a great world to live in, and you just have to start seeing the things that are important other than the problems of your own personal life. And in the picture, I still have the girl looking down to sort of symbolize how she's still within herself and trying to work this out. And it's not just finding yourself in the world, you have to find yourself. And so how do you go about finding yourself? And then that led to another painting called To Search Within. And To Search Within is where she's indoors, and you realize that the search to find yourself goes on within yourself. And these led on, just kept doing paintings like this to show, and it was a lot using the same model, to show her going through these steps and healing up to the point where she was finally moving on, which is the cover of the book, where you see her walking down the beach, and now she's moving on, and there was paintings after that called New Shoreline, to where you move on to a new shoreline. And then finally really culminating to maybe even this painting that's behind me, where you have the model leaping and dancing with joy. And there's simple things that I found myself doing. A lot of them, they're not always conscious. You can see it after you've painted it, it's very obvious. But a lot of the stuff you do unconsciously, you don't even know why you're doing it at first. But there's simple things in figurative art, especially when you're doing realistic figurative art, about what are you expressing with these emotions, and simple things by looking down or looking up become extremely powerful. When you have a model looking down, she's very much inside herself and introspective. And then when you're looking up, you're much more accepting of life and finding joy. And I noticed in the end, near the end of the book, I wrote lots of my paintings in the last few years. The models are always looking up, and I used to never paint them looking up because I did like that feeling of introspection, of looking into yourself. But as I've come through all of this, there's a joy that happens, and it just comes out in the artwork, and it comes out in the paintings.